The cheapest night in the Maldives costs less than a cocktail on an overwater villa deck, and it still comes with turquoise water on both sides. By the end, you'll have a 3-day plan built around a local island, not a 5-star villa. That includes a manta ray snorkeling trip, a resort day pass to a 5-star island, and traditional night fishing under the stars. This is how to spend 3 days in the Maldives. Let's dive in. Getting there and settling in. Most visitors fly into Vilana International Airport, then take a public ferry or shared speedboat to Mafushi in South Malay Atoll. The ferry runs about 90 minutes and costs around $3. A shared speedboat takes 30 minutes and costs around $28 each way. Base yourself in Mafushi rather than a single resort. It puts every excursion in this itinerary within a short boat ride. Accommodation options for every budget are covered in the practical section below. Day 1. Get your bearings. Mafushi's harbor comes alive by mid-morning, with wooden dhonis unloading the day's tuna catch just steps from where visitors are still eating breakfast on plastic chairs facing the water. Vendors along the same stretch sell nothing you'd find in a resort gift shop: coral-carved trinkets, dried fish in twists of paper, and cold bottles of local ginger tea for less than $1. Follow the main road north past the island's whitewashed mosque, and the town gives way to Bikini Beach, a stretch of sand fenced off specifically so foreign guests can wear swimwear on an otherwise conservative island where locals dress modestly outside the tourist zone. It's free to walk in and open all day, though it gets genuinely crowded between 10 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon as day trip boats unload. The quietest sand sits at the far eastern end, past where most sunbeds stop. And that stretch also happens to have the best shore snorkeling at high tide, right off the rocks, without needing a boat at all. By early afternoon, a speedboat carries you out toward Biadhu Reef and Turtle Reef, where green sea turtles feed on sponges close enough to watch without a wetsuit, while eagle rays glide through gaps in the coral several meters below. The half-day snorkeling, dolphin cruise, and sandbank picnic tour departs Mafushi around 9 in the morning, runs about 5 hours, and costs around $35 per person, including gear, a beach towel, lunch, and underwater photos taken by the crew. Most operators run the same route with only small variations, so it's worth confirming the boat stops at both named reefs rather than just one, since cheaper listings sometimes cut a stop to save fuel. Guides paddle alongside snorkelers at each stop and will point out anything camouflaged against the coral that's easy to swim right past otherwise. Dolphins are most often spotted mid-cruise, in the open channel between the reef stops and the sandbank, not while the boat is anchored, so it pays to keep watching the water even during the transit stretches. Tours and experiences for this destination are linked in the description below. Dinner is grilled reef fish and octopus curry at Mr. Octopus on Connie Beach, running around $20 a person, eaten a few steps from the sand, rather than at one of the busier restaurants lining the main tourist strip near the harbor. Tables are unassigned and fill up fast right around sunset, so arriving by 6:30 gets you a spot facing the water instead of a wait at the door. The octopus curry in particular sells out most nights, so it's worth ordering that first and deciding on the rest of the meal after. The quieter setting matters more here than the menu itself. You're facing open water and the sunset instead of harbor foot traffic, which is what everyone visiting for the first time books without knowing better. Tomorrow trades the local island for 5-star flair, and the manta ray snorkeling spot nearby only works during a 2-hour tidal window that most day trippers miss entirely. Day 2. Luxury for a day. Most guides list Mafushi's snorkeling and stop there, treating a resort day pass as an unnecessary splurge on top of an already full itinerary. It isn't. The right resort lets you use its beach, pool, and restaurants for less than one night's room rate would cost almost anywhere else in the world. The catch is that only a handful of resorts near Mafushi actually allow day guests at all, and which ones make the list shifts every single high season. The infinity pool at Adoran Prestige Vadu sits directly over the house reef, so you can watch striped reef fish moving beneath the glass tile from a submerged bar stool with a drink that's already included in the price. It's an adults-only resort. No visitors under 18, which suits the quiet, romantic pace of the island. All-inclusive day passes run around $140 per person, roughly 8 in the morning to 5:15 in the evening, and cover the round-trip speedboat transfer from Mafushi, a welcome drink, the beach, pool, restaurants, unlimited drinks, and a buffet lunch served between 12:30 and 2 in the afternoon. Book through your guest house tour desk at least a day ahead, since day pass numbers are capped and sell out first in peak season. Bring a printed or saved copy of the booking confirmation, since resort security checks day guests against a list before letting anyone pass the jetty. Snorkeling gear is free to borrow at the water sports desk, and the house reef starts just off the beach, so it's worth packing a swimsuit under your clothes rather than changing in a resort bathroom later. A couple of loungers near the reef edge get shade naturally by early afternoon, which matters more than it sounds like once the midday sun is directly overhead. The overwater bar section fills first with other day guests by midday, so head there right after arrival if the floating experience matters more to you than beach time. As the sun drops, a traditional Maldivian doni takes you out past the reef for handline fishing, the way local fishermen have done it for generations, using bait caught earlier that same afternoon from the shallows near the harbor. There's no rod involved, just a spool of line wrapped around your hand, which the crew will demonstrate before the boat even leaves the jetty. Reef fish like snapper and grouper are the usual catch, though a lucky group sometimes pulls in a small tuna if the boat drifts far enough past the reef edge. Trips run around 2 hours starting near 6 in the evening and cost around $25 to $30 per person through most Mafushi guest houses. The crew will grill whatever you catch right there on the beach for a small extra fee, usually $5 to $10. Booking the shared group boat instead of a private charter cuts the price roughly in half without losing much of the experience. Squid works better than fish scraps as bait once it's dark, and the crew usually know which side of the boat to fish from depending on the current. Worth asking before you cast, rather than guessing and coming home empty-handed. Tomorrow is the slowest day of the trip on paper. Until you find out what's on the island, most tour boats speed straight past without stopping. Day 3. Slow days and hidden corners. Guredu, a 15-minute speedboat ride from Mafushi, sees more surfers passing through its channel than any other inhabited island in South Malay Atoll. The break works best on an incoming swell between June and September, but even outside that window, the village itself gets almost no day trippers past its handful of surf guest houses near the jetty. Locals here still process coconut husks into rope by hand near the shore. A traditional Maldivian craft that's faded from most tourist-facing islands, and one you'll walk straight past within the first 10 minutes of arriving. Before the boat to Guredu, the lagoon in front of Mafushi is glass flat for about an hour after sunrise, calm enough that even a first-time paddler can cross to the nearby sandbank and back without fighting any current, and the water turns a shade of pale green found almost nowhere else at that hour. Kayaks and stand-up paddleboards rent for around $10 an hour from stands near Bikini Beach, no booking required, and the rental desks open around 6 in the morning. A handful of guest houses also lend boards free to guests, so it's worth checking with reception before paying at a stand. Life jackets are provided, but rarely worn in water this shallow and this clear, since you can see the sandy bottom the entire way across. Go before 7 if possible. Once the day trip speedboats start running around 8, their wake turns the lagoon choppy and the calm window closes fast. Guredu's own beach curves around a shallow reef flat, where the water stays warm and knee-deep for nearly 50 yards before it drops off, making it one of the easiest spots in the atoll for beginner swimmers to snorkel without a boat. Public ferries and shared speedboats run several times a day from Mafushi, take around 15 to 20 minutes, and cost around $3 to $5 each way. Confirm the return schedule before heading out, since the last boat back typically leaves in the mid-afternoon and there's no late option waiting behind it. A couple of small cafes near the jetty sell grilled fish sandwiches for around $3, which is enough for lunch without needing to plan around resort-style dining. Surfboard rental is available at 2 of the guest houses even for non-guests, running around $15 for a half day, if the swell happens to be running that week. Skip the stretch of beach directly in front of the jetty, which fills with tour groups by late morning, and walk 10 minutes south instead to the quieter sand past the surf guest houses. Back on Mafushi, a small heritage museum near the mosque displays fishing tools and photographs, explaining why this was one of the first islands in the country allowed to open guest houses to foreigners, following the change in tourism law in 2009. Entry costs around $2, it's open most afternoons until sunset, and the visit takes 15 to 20 minutes at most, run mostly by volunteers from the island itself. Travelers flying out the same evening often cut this short chasing one more excursion instead. But the speedboat back to Valana takes 30 minutes, and the airport check-in queue during peak season regularly runs over an hour. So anything booked for the final afternoon needs at least a 3-hour buffer before your flight. If any of those experiences caught your eye, booking options are linked in the description below. Essential practical information. Transportation. Maafushi is small enough to cross on foot in under 20 minutes, so bicycles and taxis aren't necessary once you're settled. For hops beyond Guredu, public ferries are the cheapest option if your schedule allows waiting for scheduled departures, and most guest houses can print the current timetable on request. Accommodation. Budget. Alaika Maafushi, around $41 a night. Mid-range, Nala Island Village, around $77 a night. Higher end, Ka'ani Grand Seaview, around $150 a night. Food. Try Maldivian short eats, known as hedika, at any harborside cafe, Garudia fish soup for something heartier, and the pastries at Fine Bake by Susie, the island's only dedicated bakery. Weather and packing. Peak season runs December through April with the calmest seas. Pack reef shoes for rocky entry points. Booking strategy. Book your guest house and resort day pass early in peak months. Snorkeling tours and night fishing can usually be arranged once you've already arrived. Mistakes to avoid. No alcohol on local islands. Maafushi is a dry island under Maldivian law, so alcohol isn't sold or served there at all, only on resort islands or dedicated sunset cruises just offshore. Travelers who budget for beachside drinks each night are often caught off guard, then pay resort markup just to get one. Plan the resort day around this if it matters, or pick up duty-free at the airport before leaving Valana. Cash still rules the island. Many guest houses and independent tour operators on local islands are cash only or at a card surcharge of around 3%. ATMs on Maafushi are limited and occasionally empty over busy weekends, so carry small denomination US dollars rather than relying on plastic. Sun burns faster over water. Sun reflecting off open water burns faster than most travelers expect, since light hits skin from below as well as above. Reapply reef-safe sunscreen hourly and wear a rash guard for anything longer than 30 minutes in the water. The most photographed water villas in the Maldives belong to resorts that don't allow day guests at all. The postcard image and the island you can actually visit are almost never the same place. Which of these 3 days would you start with? Drop it in the comments. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next guide. And check out the next video for another destination worth adding to your list.